Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode here on the channel. Hope you all having a great day today. We have race number 3 on the season here for the Cup Series at Sonoma Raceway, as well as we have Auto Club Raceway for the Xfinity Series to start things off for today's episode. But coming off of a very disappointing finishing result last episode for the second race of the season in the Cup Series at Homestead Miami Speedway, where we had some contact with our rival of Joey Logano in overtime, putting us around, and we ended up crashing, but fortunately rebounded still to a top 25 at least. But we were in position to go for a victory instead until that contact happened with Joey Logano. But that put Denny Hamlin in victory lane here in his final season of his Cup Series career. So Hamlin already locked into the playoffs along with Brandon Jones. So far it's been Toyota's winning to start the season here. As Paul Menard, though, taking our 77 Xfinity Series car down into turns 1 on the outside, making it 3 wide, trying to make up some ground here as it comes through out of turns 2. But as you guys know, in this season it's a completely modded schedule for the Cup Series, so it's not going to line up perfectly with the Xfinity Series throughout the season or the Truck Series as well. But like I said, completely modded schedule, so it might be a little bit different. You might not be expecting Sonoma as race number 3, but cannot wait to get some road course racing early on in the season. And it is at the Green Sonoma mod as well, because early in the year in real life you often see Sonoma as a green racetrack, and now we finally have that here as well in this season. Just like we did last season, it didn't kind of match where it was placed in the schedule, but now it actually matches, so I cannot wait for you guys to see this. As Paul continuing though to work his way through the field as he came through at a turn soon. Now to the final lap, he actually makes it 3 wide with Tony Bradinger and Ryan Sieg down into turns 1, and now all of a sudden Paul Menard to the front here, side by side with that 98 car Bradinger, who has the momentum on the exit, but then Paul gets right to that quarter panel and side drafts down the back straightaway. So now it's side by side between our car and that Stuart Haas Racing Ford Mustang, and that 98 down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Menard has a momentum, but then Bradinger charges back on the outside now as we come through turns 3 and 4 for the final time, and out of turns 4 it's going to be side by side down the front straightaway. Come to the line, Gutierrez and Sieg side by side behind, side by side still to the line, but Menard wins over Bradinger, and we will already get ourselves locked into the Xfinity Series playoffs with that victory here at Auto Club Speedway. Definitely didn't expect the win here. I mean, I don't think we've ever won at this racetrack before, but Paul able to get the job done for us here today in Auto Club. So you see the rest of the finishing order with Harmon at the bottom, but now we move through into the Cup Series race here at Sonoma. We have a brand new modded NZXT paint scheme here made by one of our community members of Vixen. A very cool paint scheme now, as it's kind of hard to get a look at it right there. But a purple and white and black combination there as we would get underway for our qualifying lap. And it wasn't the greatest qualifying lap of my career last season. Here we got our first ever Cup Series pole. It's going to be the complete different scenario this time, because I actually crashed the car in qualifying. I just overcorrected. It was a simple mistake, and we had to cross the line with a 144.6 and still beat some drivers and qualify P34 here in the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma Raceway. As you see the rest of the order, we have a Mercedes car of Todd Gilliland at the very bottom of the field, but you got to watch out for a guy like Lewis Hamilton, Chase Elliott, Austin Cindric, specifically in this race. They should all be very strong. And as we look at the qualifying order, there's the Going Racing car with Suarez in the top 10, but Hamilton third, Chase Elliott 4th, Cindric 2nd, but Brandon Jones actually qualifies on pole somehow here for Sonoma Raceway. Alright boys, it hasn't been the start to the season we wanted, and then I just made it worse by crashing the car in qualifying. So I'll try to make it up to you guys. Let's get a strong top 10, maybe even go for a victory today. There you hear myself on the radio, and you can see why Brandon Jones was so fast in qualifying. He has that fire symbol, meaning that it really doesn't matter what the car rating is or driver rating, he's going to be fast no matter what, and that is going to be something to watch out for today. The Daytona 500 winner from the season could go and get his second win. He already has 2 career wins. He won a actual field strategy race last season at Phoenix. As you see Sam Mayer sent to the back of the field. I decided to put the fuel and tire wear to 2x wear instead of 3x for this specific race, because the last 2 seasons we have won this race on pure luck because of the leader pitting coming to the final lap or 2. So I decided to change it to 2x as we are underway here at Sonoma Raceway for the Toyota Save Mart 350 as we go down towards these first few corners. You've got to be very careful. I've never started this far back in the field at Sonoma, so it was just crucial to be heavily on the brakes through these first couple corners to make sure we don't plow into the back of the 2 of Ryan Preece, another driver who's had a bit of a rough start to the season, making the switch over to Penske Racing. There's been a few drivers that haven't had a great start. like Ryan Preece, who moves to Penske. Haley Deegan, a now Cup Series rookie for Stewart Haas Racing, in replacement of Kevin Harvick, who retired last season now. But you see myself making some moves up the left-hand side of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as we go down now on the left of Preece, and there you got the 2311 car of Derek Kraus there as we look up the inside of him as well. So now already to the inside of Timmy Hill, moving up into P27 to the back of our rival of Joey Logano. We had quite the run-in with him in the last episode as I go a little bit wide though through the grass now as Brandon Jones continues to lead the way. He had a very nice clean start to this race as Logano lunges up the inside there of Ross Chastain in the 47, but now gets cleared on the exit of the corner. But it was getting off to a bit of a wild start right here. Everyone's kind of checking up a little bit now as I look up the left-hand side of Noah Gragson. A little bit of contact with him. He actually goes a little bit sideways, makes a save. Now Logano actually gets into the back of me as I nearly plow into the back of the 7 of Ryan Blaney in the McLaren and the 47 of Ross Chastain. So I went wide trying to avoid both of them, allowing Joey Logano to actually get back past me. So now into P25 here as we go down towards this final turn here in that right hairpin. Brandon Jones already crossing the line, leading the way now as I'm just kind of chilling behind these guys, not really sure where I wanted to go and place my car at this point now, but Logano looks like he might have the advantage over Ryan Blaney, his former teammate. Right now, Penske Racing, none of their cars in the top 20 even. The best one right now, Daniel Hemrick, who's just barely up there in front of Joey Logano now as I try to look up the right-hand side of Blaney here. And then you got the Penske affiliate car, Alfredo in the 21, not running any better either, just barely in front of these guys. So Penske not having a good day to start off now as I would get up the left-hand side of Logano, pass him, and then as well pass Daniel Hemrick. So we move up into P22, 21st Alfredo, 20th Zane Smith here in his first couple races so far for Richard Childress Racing. They've been about what I expected, you know, mediocre, not really the best results, but still getting what he can out of that RCR 8 car as Tyler Reddick moved over from RCR to the 42 of Chip Ganassi Racing, and Ganassi's been struggling a lot so far to start this season here. So it's going to be interesting to watch how they progress throughout this season as they're 3 wide in front of us. We get to the back of Brad Keselowski in that Stewart Haas 41 car, Haley Deegan as well in the mix. Then Austin Dillon checks up. I actually clipped the 4 in the quarter panel, a little bit of damage potentially, but it doesn't look like anything comes up on the damage radar now as that was a very large checkup. And then now Haley would be side by side with Austin Dillon into the final corner. Then Logano comes out of nowhere, runs into the back of me on the final corner on the exit, though we are actually going to be able to get clear and stay ahead of that 22. Now look up the right side of the 4. We pass Haley Deegan, and now we're going to try and get up to the right-hand side of Austin Dillon, but then into the first couple corners, Deegan forces a 3 wide with myself and Austin Dillon, and we all make contact. We come together. I get pushed again from the 22 of Joey Logano. I'm sideways. We save it and get clear of all of these drivers, but Haley Deegan, we know, we've seen her in real life be very aggressive, not afraid to be aggressive right there, made a 3 wide, and fortunately, though, it did not turn into an incident. Now as we come through to lap 3 of this first stage, still some 3 wide racing going on up in front of us, and this was bringing us right into the mix. These guys were not holding back at the start of this first road course race of the season. So now I'm to the back of Brad Keselowski in that Stewart Haas Racing number 41 car. Cole Custer, of course, moved to Kevin Harvick's Cup Series team this season, giving up that 41 now. Custer not having a great start to the season either now, as there's a lot of competitive cars. You're going to see drivers, maybe for Joe Gibbs Racing, have races where they run in the 30s because the field is so competitive this season with all these new teams that have just built up their teams, their performance and whatnot. It's going to be very interesting to watch how that goes throughout this season and who makes the playoffs or whatnot. But we had now run down our teammate of Kyle Larson, who's up the inside of the 2311 car driven by Bubba Wallace there in that DoorDash Toyota Camry. They're side by side. I get into the back of the 5 a couple times of Larson. He saves it there into the corner, thankfully, now, as I did not mean to run into him whatsoever, but he does save it, like I said, as we came through now, lunging up the right-hand side of him into the final turn. Brandon Jones already well through the final lap of the first and opening stage here in Sonoma as we nearly clear the 5 of Larson, but he actually fights back. But we end up getting a better run right there and clear him coming to the final lap of stage 1. So now well through this final lap to the outside or to the left-hand side of that 20 of Christopher Bell, who really needs to pick it up this season if he wants to remain at Joe Gibbs Racing going into the next season in the career mode now. As we come through, though, the carousel, Bubba Wallace now passing the 17 of Chris Buescher. As we come through, though, now out of that carousel, we have the opportunity to do the same thing that Bubba just did, but we get cleared by that 17. But now I'm going to look up his right-hand side here into the right-hander. Brandon Jones, by the way, you look at the track map, Brandon Jones has already come through out of the final corner. He is going to just cruise cruise to the stage 1 win. Behind us, the 17 goes a little bit wide after some contact, but we get up to P13 here as we go down into the S's for the final time. So, I mean, no stage points here in stage 1, but still quite the recovery. We were down in what, P33 at the start of this race, so we gained 20 positions in just 5 laps here as we come through that final right bend down towards that final turn here. Once 10th place crosses the line here in a couple moments, the caution will come out, but no stage points like we said. A little bit disappointing on that side, but we still had a really good rebound from starting in P33 as the caution finally does come out. Bowman in P11, Hamlin rounds out the stage points with the top 10. Brandon Jones actually, like we said, wins stage 1, Elliott second, Austin Cindric third, Lewis Hamilton in P4. So CJ McLaughlin as well in the top 5. I don't know what it is about the 78 car, because I turned their rating down for road courses, but they clearly still have some speed here now as we're going to, though, get ready to go green for the second stage. No pit stops necessary here as we get ready to take the green flag. In good position to be able to get a top 10 here in this second stage as well, starting just 3 spots below a stage spot. But for the start of stage 2, which is now underway, we are going to go through into the M segment here at Sonoma Raceway. A big mistake right there during AMP. You saw it live as I lost control of the car into the barrier. We went. We do some damage to both the front and the left side as they're 3 wide in front of us. Bubba Wallace and his car owner of Denny Hamlin 3 wide with DeBenedetto as well. Everybody's going crazy all of a sudden as I lunge up the right hand side, and now the caution is actually going to come out here on this opening lap in stage 2. A very wild start to the second stage, and nobody will be coming to the pit lane. Still, Cindric was able to get the lead. Brandon Jones dropped down to P4, Elliott second, Lewis Hamilton in the top 3 now as you get ready to go back green. What a start to the second stage. It did some damage to the car, so we know at the end of stage 2 we will have to make a couple of repairs, but hopefully it should not really add on to the time as we're back underway. Now this only leaves us 2 laps to go in this second stage, and all of a sudden I was thinking about, or actually I said at the end of stage 1 that we should really have no problem really getting some stage points here, and all of a sudden now we are 4 spots below getting a stage point, and we only have 2 laps to make it happen now as we're up that right hand side of Denny Hamlin. His final season here in the Cup Series. Now, can he go out a champion? It's going to be very hard. He hasn't won a championship in the career mode whatsoever, but he's been close a couple times as we now are up that right hand side of Matt DeBenedetto to the back of our teammate of Alex Bowman. We take a 3 wide with him and DeBenedetto, and now sure enough we move up into P10. Into the stage points we go now as we try to close in on the back of that 23 car of Bubba Wallace. Now is actually go a little bit too deep, get into the left rear quarter panel of him. Fortunately, that does not turn him around or anything now as we try to get up that right hand side, but I make a mistake right there and lose some ground as Chase Elliott is now out front here at Sonoma Raceway as we lunge down into the braking zone, trying to close in on the back of the 23, looking up the right hand side of him, nearly making some contact again now as they are going too wide behind us now as we head down towards the S's. So DeBenedetto in that 11th position, trying to close in on us for that final stage of points position now as I'm all over the back of that DoorDash Toyota Camry driven by Bubba Wallace here as he's behind the 19 of Harrison Burton. A bunch of wins for Harrison Burton last season. I think he had, 5 wins. So Burton had a very strong debut with Joe Gibbs Racing after spending 2 seasons in some lower cars that still had affiliation with Joe Gibbs Racing. Now on the final lap though of stage 2, I make a big mistake there out of the first couple corners, and DeBenedetto gets past, Bowman gets past, and so does the 20 of Christopher Bell. So now down to P13 on this final lap in the stages. We're going to have to try and get a move on it real quick because we still have a chance to potentially get a top 10 here if we get a move very quick. Now as we look to the right hand side of Bell, we clear him with absolutely no problems and are already closing in on the back of the 48 of Alex Bowman. We've made, though, a couple kind of uncharacteristic mistakes for myself here in Sonoma today. We saw the mistake in qualifying. We saw the mistake there where I put in the barrier on the first lap of the stages. We do clear that 48, but then you just saw the mistake right there. So that's what, 3 big mistakes here so far today at Sonoma now as we go down into the right-hander, and we are closing in on the 10 of De Benedetto. Up in front of us, the McLaren, the 23 car, and the 19 of Harrison Burton, all going at it there now as Erik Jones in the McLaren has had a strong start to the season, his now 3rd season, I believe, with that McLaren team. As we're to the back, though, of De Benedetto, a little bit wide right there. He opens up about a 3 to 4 car length gap as we go down towards that right bend for the final time. Elliott through the final corner. He is going to cruise to a stage 2 victory now as we get to the back of De Benedetto into that final corner. We're going to try and get up the inside, actually run into the back of him, but we still get up to that right-hand side of De Benedetto out of the final corner. Very even right there for the moment, but we have the momentum, and sure enough, coming through towards the line, we are going to be able to get that final stage point of P10 here at Sonoma Raceway now, as we really haven't been picking up a whole lot of stage points other than at Daytona now, as you see the Going racing car, Daniel Suarez in the top 5. So finally we're picking up some points with our own Cup Series team, and obviously you guys know, if you've watched the first 2 episodes of the season, our Going racing car is actually DNF'd in the first 2 races at Daytona as well as Homestead Miami. We DNF'd Homestead in the first stage of the race on, I think, like lap 11, so we would come into the pit lane for 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires and get ready to go green for the start of this 3rd and final stage here. Fortunately, we do not lose any positions there repairing the car. So we will be restarting right behind Erik Jones there in the McLaren side by side with the 2311 car. Bubba Wallace, as we are back underway for the start of stage 3, and we now have 14 laps remaining. And something that's different in this final stage compared to other seasons at Sonoma is we do not have to make a pit stop. I put it, like I said, on 2x wear and feel instead of 3x to get away from that whole situation of a driver leading, pitting with 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go, ruining really the outcome of the race. So now we're just straight up racing it to the finisher. Everybody is, as Brandon Jones takes the lead away from Chase Elliott. Back out in front goes that Gaunt Brothers racing car. I don't think anybody expected to see this here today now, as Brandon's looking for a 2nd win on the season, and right now if he wins today, he'd probably be leading the points if he is not already here. As we come through the carousel, Matt De Benedetto up my inside as he looks up the inside of Erik Jones as well, but we get past De Benedetto here for a moment as I'm going to try and lunge up that right hand side of Jones down towards the right-hander, and sure enough, we do pull it off. Now he's getting close to the back of the 23 of Bubba Wallace, still side by side with that 07. Now as they're actually 3 wide in front of us, now is actually behind us. We got some trouble. William Byron goes crashing, and that's actually going to bring out the caution here. A bunch of cars stopped on track going nowhere, so the caution comes out here in Sonoma. It was getting wild up in front of us moments before that caution. Also, Erik Jones is a 0-2, not 0-7, just to correct and clarify that. But everybody, of course, staying out as we now get ready to go back green flag racing here from the 8th position. We just seem to not quite have the speed that we usually have as well here today at Sonoma Raceway. We've just been kind of off the ball a little bit. Now as we are back underway, though, it brings us a little bit closer. Brandon Jones on the front row along with Chase Elliott, Lewis Hamilton there, and Austin Cindric in row number 2. We knew we were going to see Lewis Hamilton really shine at these road courses early in the season, and here he is showing it today, what he can do as he moves over from F1 into a NASCAR stock car. And in just his 3rd race in stock car racing here, he is still able to have a strong run at a road course here in that Mercedes number 44 car. As we go down into the right-hander, McLaughlin still clear of myself as we have Jones trying to pressure us on that left-hand side, but has nothing for us. Bubba Wallace battling with Daniel Suarez now as we clear McLaughlin and move up into P7 now as Bubba. He's going to go up that left-hand side of Suarez into the carousel now, as we would love to see our number 77 Going Racing Chevrolet get up towards that front of the field, but it's just so hard to really beat some of these big names like Lewis Hamilton, Austin Cindric, Chase Elliott, Brandon Jones, not a road course racer, or I guess road course star, but here he is having a great run today now as actually we get hit by McLaughlin there, and that's going to send us wide now as we're going to lose the spot to McLaughlin. They're going behind us 2 and 3 wide at times now, but now on the next lap, I ran McLaughlin back down. I got into the left rear of him. I just kind of used him up a little bit because he proved that he wasn't afraid to use me up, so now we get back in front of him, move up into P7 now, running down Austin Cindric, who had gotten passed by Suarez, who had moved up now into the top 5, trying to run down 4th place. of Bubba Wallace, who's having a great run here today in Sonoma. Now as we go down towards this carousel on this 22nd lap, is actually getting to the back of Austin Cindric into the carousel. He's going to go spinning. I have nowhere to go. I tried to go left. He went left. And now we have taken out the 33. And the caution comes out again in what has been a wild race so far at Sonoma Raceway. Please apologize to Austin. That was bad. I didn't mean to do that. I just went way too deep into the corner and just drove into the back of him. I'm sorry. And there you hear myself on the radio just telling the team, please apologize to Austin Cindric. I did not mean to do that. That was just a simple mistake on my part. I don't know if he just braked earlier or if I just drove way too deep into the corner, because I think I would have made the corner if there wasn't a car in front of me. And then I tried to go left to avoid him, and then he went left, and then as I started pulling back right when we were already together, he just followed me anyways, and the caution was out. So now we are back underway with just 6 laps to go here at Sonoma Raceway. Brandon Jones still side by side again with Chase Elliott on another restart. Now Elliott has the preferred lane here, so this is a good opportunity for Elliott to potentially steal a win. He's been winless for over a season here in the career mode. Never thought we'd be saying that, but it sure enough is the situation he has dealt with right now, as we got Austin Cindric on our left hand side, trying to leave him a little bit of extra room after we just wrecked him moments before now. But Elliott looks like he is clear of the 96 of Brandon Jones as we go down to the carousel. Brandon Jones follows in line behind him, and we're up the now right hand side of Daniel Suarez as we go down into that left carousel. But sure enough, up at the front of the field, Brandon Jones battles back up the inside of Elliott and clears Elliott out of the carousel. Bubba Wallace has passed Lewis Hamilton. Moving up into P3, we pass our own car of Daniel Suarez and move up into now the 6th position here as we go down towards the right-hander. They're all starting to once again come together now 3 wide. It looks like it's going to be between Hamilton and Bubba, but no, they settle it out. But now they go 3 wide as now Suarez passes me and everybody's come together. There's pylons laying on the track now as we are getting it just about into it with the 77 of Suarez. Another checkup right there. The 33 goes by on the right. Then all of a sudden he checks up and we pass him back. So now we're P7 after that complete mess. And now as we come through to 5 laps to go, 26 of 30 laps complete, Brandon Jones once again pulling away with the potential win as Harrison Burton has moved up into P8 behind myself. And I was really struggling here. I could not run down Daniel Suarez now as we came through to 3 laps to go in this race, looking like we're going to have to settle in for a potential 7th place finish. Sure enough, into the carousel, still the same situation, but then the caution comes out and this is going to force overtime here in Sonoma Raceway now as Brandon Jones and Chase Elliott will lead the field back to the green flag. That is now 2 races in a row. As you see Alex Bowman actually coming into the pit lane, he might have been the reasoning for the caution, but that is 2 races in a row that will go to overtime here at Sonoma. And Homestead Miami went to double overtime after the incident between myself and Joey Logano, but here we are in P7, giving us a chance to maybe get past that 77 of Suarez, maybe even the 78 of CJ McLaughlin. Now as the green flag is back up, we saw Chase Elliott clear Brandon Jones on the last restart on the same lane, so can he do it here today in this potential final restart as overtime is underway now, as Elliott tries to return to victory lane and the Daytona 500 champion of the season, Brandon Jones, tries to pick up somehow win number 2, which I would have never guessed would be a potential thing happening here now as we're up that left-hand side of Suarez. A bit of a mistake right there, allowing Burton to get up my right-hand side here as we go down to the right-hander, but Brandon Jones has cleared Chase Elliott there, and that pretty much seals the deal because we know how fast that 96 is as I go a little bit wide there, losing some grip in the grass. Fortunately, we hold on to the car, but now Harrison on my right-hand side as we go down into this carousel to the back of that yellow heart Camaro of Suarez. But you see the situation. Jones now a good 2 car lengths ahead of that 9 of Chase Elliott, and this next corner is probably Elliott's only chance to really stay in this fight for the victory if he maybe lunges up the right hand side or runs into the back of Jones, but it does not happen now as they're all actually single file in front of us. This is probably the most calm the field has been up towards the front all race long through that section of track on a restart now, so I was very surprised by that, of course, now as Brandon Jones is trying to run away with the victory as I'm trying my best to get to that back of the 77 of Daniel Suarez and make a move, but it just wasn't happening now as we go down into that right bend, and it's looking very good for Brandon Jones as we have no pressure as well from behind here as we go down into this final corner, closing in on the back of the 77 of Daniel Suarez, right to the back of him, but he's going to get a way better launch on the exit of that final corner as I also get sideways there, trying to get down on that power as quick as I can as we come through to start the final lap here at Sonoma Raceway, the first road course race of the season. It's been a wild one, probably the craziest race of the season so far. We have had a lot of cautions. We've gone to overtime now as Jones continues to lead the way, and you think about the modded schedule we have Now, 3 extra road course races this season with Road America, Mid-Ohio, as well as Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So there's going to be a lot of road course racing this season now as we close in again to the back of that 77 of Suarez. Once again, though, a big moment there as I make another mistake. We go in through the grass and we lose a bunch of ground. Burton up my right-hand side into the carousel for the final time here at Sonoma Raceway, but we hold him off for the time being now as we have a lot of ground to make up on that 77 of Suarez. Now as Jones continues to lead the way as we start the final half of a lap here at Sonoma Raceway now as Bubba Wallace is all over the back of the 44 of Lewis Hamilton. McLaughlin somehow in the top 5 having a great run, just like Brandon Jones is a surprise, just performance for both of those guys here as we go down into the S's for the final time. We get through here really good though, and our chance to get Suarez for that 6th position is back alive now here as we go down through this little left-hander heading down towards this right bend, which is going to be very crucial for us as we shift down into 3rd gear, and we get through here really well. We go through the grass, giving it everything. We lunge up the left-hand side. I didn't have time to just cross him over to go to the right, but we go through side by side through the final corner, but it's not going to be enough as Suarez gets clear and holds on to P6. It's going to be P7 for us, where Brandon Jones wins in Sonoma Raceway in the Toyota Save Mart 350, and that will put him now at 2 wins on the season. The Daytona 500 champion comes through to win 2 of the first 3 races on the season. If you would have told me Brandon Jones would have won 2 of the first 3 races of the season in the car he's in, or just win 2 races at all, I would have not believed you. And here he is winning them at Daytona and Sonoma. As you look at the rest of the finishing order, a lot of drivers that are big names on big teams had some rough days. Briscoe down in last. Tyler Reddick was down there as well. I don't think Briscoe was lacking speed. He just had a terrible race now as Brandon Jones leads the standings over Logano and Elliott, and Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch are all up there in the top 5. Next episode, though, the NASCAR Legend Series presented by Drive-Thru Designs makes its debut here in the career mode, where you're going to see current stars in the Cup Series, past stars, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, for example, and then you're going to see some content creators like Michael Cozy Jr., also known as Winval. Then you got Moonhead, David Schildhouse, Joey Stone, and then myself as well. So very excited to bring that to you guys as we look at the point standings here in the Cup Series, as well as you saw the Xfinity grid. But as always, if you guys enjoyed, you do know what to do. So in the next one, we go to Auto Club here in the Cup Series for race number 4 on the season. So very excited to see how this one's going to turn out. Auto Club, we just won it with Paul Menard behind the wheel of our Xfinity car. So hopefully that kind of gives us a good idea of what we might have here in the Cup Series in the next episode. It's currently Austin Cindric rounds up the final spot in the playoffs right now. McLaughlin up there in the playoffs as well. So a lot of surprising names up here in the mix right now. Hamilton even in the playoffs after a very strong run at Sonoma. But before we end this episode, of course, I would like to say a quick thank you to just everybody for supporting the start of the season. It's been huge. The support has been unreal now. As you see, Brandon Jones, I was actually quickly looking at where he finished at Homestead. It was down in P23. But before we end it again, just want to say thank you to the Now the Going Racing members of MJ, Joseph 9001, Timothy Arline, Bubba Jr., Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, AJ Vasseur, King Matt XL, Dana 9302, as well as Russell Dixon. You guys help me out as I always mention every episode, and I really do appreciate your support to help me hopefully one day become a full-time content creator here on YouTube. But I'll see you guys in the next one for Auto Club and the debut of our Dirt series. Have a great day, everybody.